Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And we're here today with a fabulous guest. Trey Downes is going to join us. Now, he's here to talk about waking up to the higher consciousness. He's got his own podcast. It's called Your Superior Self. And so this is going to be a really fun show. We're going to talk to Trey and see what he's been up to and how he's doing on his podcast and how he learned to, get his power back. And I think we're all trying to work on ourselves right now. At least I hope we're trying to work on ourselves right now. Hey, listen, before I bring him on, let's talk about the state of humanity. I pulled a couple things up here this morning. I'm just really amazed by what happened over the weekend. I've got diners fleeing because of Black Lives Matters in Rochester, New York, on the evening of September 4th. Looks like they took to the streets, and it was supposed to be a peaceful protest, but the people in the restaurants were told that, let's see exactly what they said. They were stormed by the BLM rioters, where you could see chairs being thrown and plates and glasses being smashed as people were seated at a dining area. All the while, the typical chants were playing in the background, with those among the crowd saying Black Lives Matter. One man can be heard chanting the following while numerous people entered the dining area of a restaurant saying, "If you don't give us our shit, we'll shut shit down." Wow, that's really crazy. So people are having Black Lives Matter people try to disrupt their dinners in the restaurants now. So that's a new one. We had the Kentucky Derby. I want to talk about that really quick. I've been to Louisville Downs. It's a really cool place to go. I love the horse races, but gosh, it was about the protesters again at Louisville Downs. And they were, as the Kentucky Derby got underway Saturday, the city of Louisville saw protests from far-right activists and those calling for justice in the aftermath of Breonna Taylor's fatal shooting by Louisville, Kentucky police. So that went on, but just so you know, authentic won. Okay, that's what I thought was really important, that the horse authentic won. So there you have it. But nothing's the same right now. Hey, one more thing I want to talk about before I bring Trey on is the California wildfires. This has really gotten out of hand. There was a heat wave, and we've got over Labor Day weekend, it says as of Monday, wildfires had scorched over 2 million acres of land in the Golden State. Crews were conducting active rescue operations to save people surrounded by the flames. It's a little unnerving because September and October are historically our worst months for fire. CAL FIRE spokesman Lynn Tomakoff told the Associated Press. It's usually hot and the fuels really dry out, and we see more of our wind events. So California officials just say that there's so many people who have been rescued. I won't go into the whole thing, but there's just all these people who have been killed. People were camping and got stuck in there and couldn't get out of there. And they did get them out, but there is a lot of people whose homes have been destroyed because of the fire. So blessings to those people out there. Hey, listen, I want to tell you a little bit about Trey Downes before I bring him on today. He's a really interesting guy. He's a host of his own podcast, and he's a 30-something, and he's a father, and he has children, and he has a wife, Marissa, and they live in the suburbs of Baltimore. And he grew up in Delaware. And I think he got to a point where he said, I just want to do something and help humanity. And that's why I started this podcast. So I'm really glad he's here today. Hey, Trey, welcome to High Road to Humanity.
Nancy,
yes.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm very honored to be here.
Oh, well, God bless you. Hey, so what's going on in Baltimore? What's the state of humanity?
State of humanity, state of consciousness is just like everywhere else. State of confusion with the elections and the pandemic, and trying to figure this stuff out. Homeschooling, virtual learning, and all of that great stuff. I mean, it's just kind of a state of confusion.
It's affected
That's
you
why.
personally, huh? Your kids,
Oh
like, do your
yeah, yeah,
kids go to
definitely.
school or
Mhm.
what's going on there?
Well, we go to Catholic school, but they
Okay.
are the Archdiocese of Baltimore is essentially allowing us to do in person, but we've elected to do the 6 week option of learn from home and see basically see what happens.
Okay.
And then we'll have, after 6 weeks, we'll be able to send them back or continue throughout the year virtual learning.
Okay. So,
But
so basically they're in front of a computer. That's kind of how
all
my,
day. All
yeah.
day. But I mean, it's cool though, because like they have Zoom, right? So it's not like, a
Okay.
list of things. Like they have a schedule and they have to be on the computer at certain times. So that way the teachers can present, just like you and I are talking right now. Basically, the teacher gives her class and, they participate in that sense, which is pretty cool.
Right.
It's a lot better than last year where they basically gave us a list of things to do and then we had to get them done by, a certain time. But
Okay.
it's better than it's probably I would say it's definitely an improvement.
Okay. Okay. Well, good. How old are your kids? Can I ask?
Yeah, sure. Cam is 10, Ava is 8, and I have a 1-year old who's going to be 2 in December.
Oh, wow. So you got your hands full. Now, your wife is a nurse. Now, how's that been going for her with the COVID and, the whole situation? Has that
Yeah,
been
she's a labor and delivery nurse,
right?
and I mean, she's she has her finger on the pulse. I mean, she knows what's going on. She sees it every day.
Right.
At first, it was very scary just because we didn't know. But however, as we work through it and we progress, she does everything that she can to stay, I wouldn't say sterile, but like,
Right.
she washes her hands and she's very conscious about coming home and making sure that she does the necessary things to make sure that we stay safe at home. And
Right.
um, I, I mean, the hospitals are, they're doing their thing. They're doing what is necessary. Like her I guess her department or I don't even call it her section of the hospital is very up to date on the data that they collected and making sure that the moms and the babies are safe, and they're
Okay.
doing, making sure that they adhere to the policies. I don't know if the dads are allowed in yet,
Okay.
but they're definitely doing their due diligence when it comes to keeping everyone safe.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Because I have a
Mhm.
girlfriend that has a little baby and she's a nurse and she was kind of leery to go back to work after she had her baby, because you just don't know. And, all the different things that they say right now. So, but I think children are a little more immune, it seems, to this COVID-19 thing. But thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Tell me your story. Why did you start doing a podcast? I always like to, everybody always asks me, so I get to ask you.
Well, it was kind of weird. I started on this. I wish it was like a simple answer, but it's like this journey, right? That starts and you take one step and it unfolds into this web of like your entire being. So my brother-in-law Joe and we had a discussion. It was like 2 years ago at Thanksgiving. When podcasting, I became conscious of podcasting and what I started becoming a big fan of like JLD, Entrepreneurs on Fire, and a lot of the entrepreneurs and what they were doing. And I started like listening and really paying attention to the podcasting world, and so was he. And he owns his own business in Baltimore, and he's a public speaker, and he does a lot of presentations, and he has this natural knack for it. And I'm like, dude, why are you not doing a podcast? Like you could expand your message, you can have a bigger platform. Like, what are you doing? And he was like, you should be doing a podcast. I was like, dude, what do I had to say? I don't, I'm just a manager. I don't, I work in transportation. I don't have anything to say. He was like, dude, you're all about, being the better version of yourself. And, you have a message, you have a message too. You just don't know what it is yet. So I was like, you know what? If I do it, then you got to do it. And he's like, fine,
That's
whatever.
funny.
So we both started our podcast at the same time, and we ended up, I don't know if he's still into it right now, but I think
Yeah.
he's got like 60 episodes deep. However, I've picked up and run with it just because of the people that I've met and the people that I interviewed.
Isn't it
It's
great?
turned in, yeah, it's manifested itself into this great learning platform from everyone
Yeah.
and for myself too. So everyone gets to see my journey as well as, they can listen to episode 1 into where I'm at today and just see that my path. And I love it.
Right, right. And I always say every guest I have on the show, and I looked at some of your podcasts, we've had some of the same guests because we have the
Hmm.
same publicist, but I learn. so much every show from these people. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody has this unique gift. I mean, do you find that too?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the art of conversation. Like I love creating that flow between one person, right? Like you and I right now, like connecting and being in the moment. Like that's the one thing that I've been learning recently is really how to be in the moment because we always tend to be thinking about the past or the future. And
Right.
the ego and learning more about the psychology and how the mind works is that the ego tries to take over. And like, there are times where I'm having conversations out in the public where I'm constantly thinking about what I should be doing or what I need to do next or how it affected me in the past as opposed to
Right.
being in the moment with the person. So
Right.
podcasting and being in the moment has really, I don't know, it's strengthened my appreciation for the infinite possibilities that the moment brings and being more aware to that.
Right.
Right.
No, I
Now,
think
I don't know
that's
if that
really
makes
cool.
sense. I don't know if that makes sense to
No,
you or
it
not,
makes
but
total sense because, well, I'm just going to tell you something. I'm just proud
sure.
of you for being as young as you are, for getting this as young as you are. Because,
I'm not that young. I'm 37 years old.
well, you're still young. But you know what? I'll tell you something. Some people never get this.
Yeah, but you know what though? Like as long as you get it at some point, as long as you awaken to it, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
your journey, right? Like that's your,
Right. Yeah,
I
but
mean,
there's a lot of people who are comfortable where they are, Trey, and they
yeah,
don't
that's
want to.
true.
Yes, and that's why I'm bringing this up because a lot of people are comfortable just where they are,
Mhm.
and they don't want to grow, and they don't want to be enlightened, and
Well, you
they.
don't know until you know. You know what I mean? Like you
Do
don't
you
know
think
until you
that
know.
you
Yeah,
don't know until
absolutely.
you
I
know?
think, but I mean, like if you think about, me and, looking at your platform, I feel comfortable talking about this with you guys, but like reincarnation, right? Like,
Right?
you have all the time in the world. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a, eternity. We're doing this, right? Like until you develop, until you grow into what you're supposed to be. Like it might
Right.
take you 100 lifetimes to awaken, but who
Right.
says we're done after we awaken? What happens if I forget next lifetime and it takes me, 39 years or 45 years? As long as you awaken to that, to what we truly are and the power that we have inside of us, like
Mm-hmm.
that's the name of the game, no matter how
Mm-hmm.
you do it. Like people listening right now are kind of like, I think they have an idea what's going on. Like they know there's a wizard behind the curtain, Wizard of
Right.
Oz.
Right.
But some people are still, especially on my podcast, like I'm trying to, introduce that to people, and it's hard
Right.
because they're so in, like their belief systems are so ingrained, right? Like
Right. Yeah, people get into a pattern. Hey, listen, we're getting ready to go to commercial break, but we'll be right back to talk some more about this. You guys, I'm here today with Trey Downes. He has a wonderful podcast. I want you guys to check it out. I'm going to have him. How did people find your podcast, Your Superior Self? How do they find you?
yoursuperiorself.com.
Okay, you guys, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Trey Downes, and we're talking about, gosh, our higher selves, our consciousness, living in the now. I can remember when that book came out, Living in the Now, and I couldn't make it through it. And now it's like, oh, I get it. And just like you said, it's so hard to live in the now. It's really kind of crazy. I don't know if you have you gotten your wife into all this stuff too. I mean, how does she feel about it? Have you converted
Wife's
her as
old
well?
school. Like
Oh,
she's
is she
old
old
school
school?
Catholic, cradle Catholic, and
Yeah.
she's becoming more aware. But she looks at me sometimes and she's like, "Did I marry this? Like, what? What? Where are you from?" Because like I'm Catholic too. So, but like I've just the more that I like what really started me down this path of awakening was like reading a lot of near death experience books.
Right.
Like
Right.
Dr. Moody from UVA, like it was like 100 cases of like not the same story, but some of the similarities. Like,
Mm.
you have a near death experience and you experience all the love and joy that is out there, and then like you feel the power of the universe or God or whatever you want to call that, and then you come back and now you're in a different person. And then I started reading some what is it, Edgar Casey books.
Oh, I know. I love Edgar Casey.
Oh, and then that turned me on to Robert Monroe, and then that turned
Yeah.
me on to different things, and now it's like this rabbit hole on that. Currently, I'm reading Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you've heard. I'm sure you've heard of him before.
Yeah.
He's fascinating as well. I think the cool part is that like I never stop learning.
Right.
like
Exactly.
something
Exactly.
leads to something else. And then like I keep evolving as a consciousness.
Correct. Meditation. Did you
Hmm.
start meditating?
I did. It's still hard because like I'm at that point where I'm starting to become more aware of my body. Like my body is so addicted to the emotions from the past. Like, I sit
Right.
down, like, all right, let's say this, all right? So let's say you do the same things over and over again every morning. You get
Hmm.
up, you brush your teeth, or you get in the shower, you brush your teeth, you get ready for work. You do the same pattern every day.
Hmm.
Your body becomes used to, and this is from Joe Dispenza's book. Your body gets used to the chemicals that are generated from all that, thinking about the future, where you need to be, the stress, the chemicals that are generated. Now you become addicted to that. And when you
Hmm.
start sitting down to meditate, your body's like, whoa, dude, bro, what are you doing, man? Like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. So you start
Right.
stressing out. Like your body's addicted to those daily reoccurring um, things that you do.
Now,
And
if
when
you
you sit
follow,
down, you got to be
yeah,
sure.
but I want to interrupt you a second. A
Yeah.
lot of times, and I tell people this, and this helped me too, and this might help you. I do a guided meditation. I've picked up
Mhm.
like Joe Gallenberger. He's been on my show, and he's really good. Some of these people, if you listen to their guided meditations, it kind of puts you in that mood, and then you can
Mhm.
kind of get into that. You know what I mean? It's hard for
Mhm.
me too. I'm like you. I'm a type A personality, and it's been really difficult to meditate. I mean, honestly, it's taken me a long time. And I feel like, but last week I had this wonderful guy on my show, and I was like, you know what? I need to just, and he's like, Nancy, you don't need to sit there for 30 minutes. You can only sit there for 10 and it's okay. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay. Dean Slider was on my show last week. And he said, you don't have to sit there for 30 minutes. Cause I keep thinking, well, the longer I do it, the more
Yeah.
connected I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, just, 5 or 10 minutes and you're good. So I've been kind of going with that.
Yeah, no, that's great. 10 minutes. I think, I mean, what I'm trying to do when I meditate is change my mind state. The
Yeah.
neural pathways that my brain is creating. Going from beta to alpha to theta,
Hmm.
and I do that by going running. So my meditation primarily is running because I can go from that
Okay.
beta state to the alpha, and then I start experiencing different consciousness levels and different neural chemical creations, and I'm
Okay.
able to it's so weird, but like I can start honing into my higher consciousness that way. And I'll come
Hmm.
back and I'll sit down for a little bit because I have a pretty, I get up very early and I go for a 4 to 5 mile run.
Right. That's
And I'll
awesome.
go and I'll see the sunrise and I feel more connected to the universe and God. And I'll have conversations with my higher self there or whatever and try to create my future. And, um, and then I'll come back and I'll start my day. However, I mean, you just got to find something that works for you. As long as you
Right. Right.
change your mindset, from that beta to the alpha. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what meditation is.
Well, I'm glad you brought up running because I ride my bike 3.5 miles in the morning. I just do. And it's the same thing. And we live at a lake. And so I'm able to do that. But my daughter is a runner like you are.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells me the same thing that you just explained, that that's her meditation when she runs. So I think the biggest thing is to get outside. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think? Get out in nature.
Yeah, that too. And just seeing like because God's everything. Like God's everything. Like God's
Right.
either nothing or everything and God is everything. Like just looking at the micro universes that's going on around me, like going out to this field where I watch the sunrise and just looking at like the birds and the animals and insects that are just having this like they're having their own universe going on and here I am worried about what I got to do today when these guys are just like kind of going around on their own, just experiencing God in his
Yeah.
fullness.
Well, we've been programmed. That I think that's one of the biggest things that I figured out, and maybe you have too, is that we've been programmed to do or to think a certain way. And once we start becoming enlightened and more conscious, we start to realize that maybe we don't have to do that. And
Mhm.
maybe it's okay to just be who we are.
Just being that love, just
Yeah.
beingness. That's what I'm trying to be is that beingness, just like being in the moment, like being in the moment and being 100% in and like being open and just loving, right? Like not judging, like,
Right. No judgment.
no judgment, like
That's
accepting.
hard.
It
I've
is
been doing
hard.
that too. It's really hard. It's hard to be in the moment. I want to say that because I'm on the same path as you are. You start, oh, well, what I got to do? And I make a list and I got to do this and I got to be there. And another thing that's really, and I'd like to talk about for a few minutes, we got about a few minutes before we go to break, is time. We're all so constricted by time, but on the other side, there is no time. And if we can just kind of chill on the time, I think we can I feel like I can manipulate time. Talk to me about your thoughts on that.
Well, I just posted something on my Instagram page today, like a XY graph, like XY axis, where it's always going to take time to get somewhere. Whether you're going to the grocery store, to the gym, or running, it's going to take time. But see your future self wherever you want to be in 10, 15 years. Like it's going to take
Mhm.
time to get there. But the thing that you're going to help you get there faster is the actions that you take today. So
Mhm.
if you want to be healthier, you see this future self of yours. The only way you get there faster is by the actions that you take. You can get there quicker. However, if you have big aspiring goals like me, I want to be a huge podcaster. I want to be nation known or worldwide.
Worldwide.
That's a huge thing for me to do, right? That's a big change. So it's
I
going to
think
take
it's great.
longer, but
Yeah.
it's the actions that are going to get you there. If I never podcast, then I'm never going to get there. You know what I
Now,
mean?
do you pray? Do you say, okay, God, because before I come on the show, I always tell some of my secrets on the show, Trey. But before I come on the show, I always say a little prayer. Okay, God, give me the words I need to say to this podcast and let the people who need to hear it hear it. Do you do that kind of stuff too?
I pray to God and I thank him for all the opportunities. And then I also talk to my higher self and say, please, I'll do the work. I don't care. Like when I'm on my deathbed at 85, 95, 105, I don't care. I just want to look back and say, you know what? I tried. Even if I don't get to that, whatever I think success is, at least I'd never stop trying to get there.
Right, right. Okay, determination. Well, and the power comes from within. And when did you start to realize that the power came from within?
Paul Selig, his new book that just came out, Real Alchemy.
Okay.
He's a friend of mine, and at first, the more that I become more awakened, and the more that I become more aware, I can understand his books more.
Okay.
And his latest book, Alchemy, really just kicked in the doors for me. Just understanding what we are, um, you know, being that love. And he has a great analogy in the book. Well, the guides have a great analogy in the book where they talk about the resurrection of Christ in us. And picture that scene where Jesus comes out of the tomb and he rolls away the rock in the front of the tomb. Like that's our heart. The tomb is our heart, and Jesus lives in there. And until you can roll away that stone and let Jesus come out and be everywhere you are,
Right.
you will never know what pure joy, pure love is until you do that. And like for me, I'm working so much on that, like just loving everything, even every aspect, even of myself.
Right.
I can't love you until I love every shadow of me,
That's
everything that
true.
I hate, everything that just annoys me. And, you just gotta love it and be in it.
Yeah. And it's hard sometimes. It
It is
is.
hard.
It's tough. It's
It's not
not
hard.
as
It's not
easy.
easy.
Yeah, I agree with you
It's
on
easy to
that.
say. It's not easy to do.
Correct. You got to walk the walk, and that's the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. You can't just talk it. You got to live it, and that's one of my biggest things is living it because it is hard. Hey, so since you've become more enlightened and become of a higher consciousness, have you lost friends?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
100%. But I'm cool with just being me, like
Yeah.
being
Good.
by
Good.
myself. Like
Awesome.
I'm, you have to.
I
You
know.
have to. You're going to lose people because you're growing. You're elevating. You're raising your consciousness. You're raising your vibration, and the more that you do that, the higher you rise. And so there, people are going to stay down below because that's where they feel comfortable. And
Yeah.
you might not meet another person like you until you come on Nancy's show or my show, and then you feel the energy and you listen to
Right.
us, and you're like, oh, and then we connect you with somebody that's similar. But it's cool. It's okay. Like we're all connected at the end of the day. It's just we need to be more aware to that.
Right. Well, and we're all on our own path and we're all going to figure it out at our own time. You can't force somebody. It's like when they're ready, because, we're all going to evolve, and that's what's going on right now. We're raising our consciousness, but we're not raising it all at the same level at the same time. So you can't look at somebody and say, oh, you can't judge. That's what we were talking about a little earlier. People will drop away. You can't judge. You just have to move on, and you become friends with people who are at your level of consciousness, right?
It's just, seeing the ego in other people and just accepting that, like when you get in an argument with
It's
someone and
funny.
yeah, I just see, like, I'm just being right. Like I'll live my life. And sometimes the ego is like, I'll have little spurts of emotion that is like, man, he's wrong. He's wrong. But then I just step back and say, you know what? That's the ego trying to be right. And that's a small self. It's not who I am.
Hmm. Wow, that's exactly right. Hey, you guys, we got to go to commercial break, but I'm here today with Trey Downes, and his show, you guys, is called Your Superior Self, and you can find it at yoursuperiorself.com. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. This is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. We're here today with Trey Downes. We're talking about our consciousness. We're talking about raising our consciousness. We're talking about love. And Trey, talk to me. I've kind of learned over the last year or so how to ask my heart or come from the heart. Do you do that too? Have you learned to come from the heart, or ask your heart a question because the body doesn't like kind of thing? Have you experienced that?
Well, there's like duality between the brain and the heart, right? Like I'm trying to be more like one with my everything, my entire being. Like things come from my heart, but then the head steps in and tries to analyze everything. Left brain very analytical.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just try to feel. I try to, the heart is the old brain. Our brains are obviously the new brain where we try to analyze everything, and the neocortex is, a beast of itself. But I just try to see things for what it is and just understand that I'm still evolving and still learning and growing. And I don't try to analyze too many things because the more that I think about it, the more time I spend in that. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do that. Like, I just want to experience it and be.
Right.
I don't know. What about you? What about, you said you come from the heart. Like how, give
Well,
me an example of
yeah.
that.
Well, yeah. Well, I've had a lot of different people on my show, and they say think from your heart instead of from your head. And if you ask your heart a question, I always put my hands on my heart
Mm-hmm.
and ask your heart, not your head, and just listen to what your heart says. That's your true answer because the body never lies. And sometimes when I get in my head and I'm getting confused and what should I do, I'll ask my heart instead of my head because that's where the truth lies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always tell people that, ask, come from your heart. And that's hard to do too, because just like you were talking about, you get in your head and, I don't know what your background, what your whole background is, but you do talk a little bit about growing up and you didn't want to be like your father and your grandfather where you went to work every day and clocked in and
Yeah.
spent I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I thought that was really interesting because it's true because we're almost like little robots. My dad was the
Yeah.
same way. He was an engineer and he went to work every day and, he died when he was 80 some years old. But I don't know, you go in, you clock in, but did he really do what he loved? You know what I mean? Did he
Yeah.
do what was really in his heart? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, for the two men that I respect more than anything in this world, my grandfather and my dad, who I love with all my heart, is they were happy doing that, right? Like they just loved it. And for me, I'm a little different, and I think I went down that path because I wanted the acceptance, I wanted their love more than anything. So like I sacrificed just finding out who I was, and I was nervous that I was. Society said I had to be this by the age I was 24. I had to be this. Do this before I'm 30. And like, it kind of scared me because I quit school. I quit college because I didn't really necessarily know what I wanted to do. And I was spending money and,
Right.
student loans were amounting. And so I went to my father and asked for a position, and I was luckily granted that. And I worked my way up to where I am today. And it wasn't because of something, it wasn't like this is out of passion. It was out of wanting their love and their appreciation. And
Mhm.
it started, life started to open for me. Like I started noticing things that I liked, and it made me curious about other aspects of life. And I just, I don't know. There's that, clocking in 9 to 5, but people love that comfort, that comfort because they're secure in that. And me, it's like, the more that I learn, the more knowledge that I gain, it's, I become more curious about other things.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think, we should all be doing what we really want to do, what's inside our hearts. And a lot of times people don't. They think, oh, I can't do that because I have to work the 9 to 5 job. They're afraid to take the leap. But when you do take the leap and do exactly what you want, I'm a real estate broker. I used to be a real estate broker. I still am. I still sell some stuff. But my true love, kind of like what you're talking about, is doing what we're doing right now.
Mm.
It's talking about God and talking about love and talking about consciousness and teaching people, some of the things that I've learned, just like you were saying before, this isn't it. There's life after this. And once you start to realize, that there is something after this, it changes things, and you look at things differently. You really do. You look at life differently. And then you realize, I just want to say this too. You also realize how precious life is. A lot of us, we take life for granted. And we're so lucky to be here, to be able to experience, to be able to go outside and go running or ride your bike or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just think that that's something that's really cool. Hey, listen, since you've been doing this show, tell me about some of the guests you've had on. Like, who's like your favorite guest that you had on, or
They're
give me
all
some
my favorite.
stories.
I can't do that. These are like my kids, you know. These
Oh,
episodes,
come on.
I
Give me
can't
some
choose my
stories.
favorite kid
All right.
here.
Well, don't choose, but give me some cool stories. Like, what's been one of your favorite shows that you've
Aubrey
done?
Marcus was special. That was a special conversation. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Let's see who else. I have some intimate conversations with guys and girls that I've never met in my life, but yet I allow, when I'm in the moment, like I can allow myself to just be free and open up and allow them to see me for who I am. And
Cool.
I really hope that the audience can see me, through the episode. Let's see, I had a face reader, Eric Standup, came on the show, and that was interesting.
A
He was,
face reader.
a
Really?
face reader. Yeah.
Wow.
He's so good at it too. He's like
That's cool.
amazingly accurate with his like predictions. He can just look at your face and just like, he can see your characteristics. He says the soul is what makes your face, like your energy, like it forms your face. So like he can immediately read areas of your face and be like, oh yeah, this is why you do this, or this is,
That
I think
is so cool.
the first thing he told me was like, he took a picture of my face, like, a screenshot, and he was like, you love the stage, but you're shy, or something like that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. 100%. Like I love the theatrics. I love the commanding an audience's attention and telling my story, but I am shy. Like I am like, trying to get over that public speaking fear.
Right.
I think that's why I'm pretty good at podcasting, because it's just me and you, and then like there's no one else there,
Right.
But that was a fun one. What about you? Who's your favorite?
Oh, I can't do that either.
Gonna put me on the spot.
I can't do it. You know what? I've had so many people. Oh my God. I've had Shelley Keir, who is wonderful, who told me all about past lives and past life with pets. And I've had all these different people who are healers. I've had psychics. I've had astrologers. I've had a guy Vernon, who does read your palm, and he's Vernon Mayaball. He's one of my favorites. I love Joe Gallenberger because he goes to Vegas and he teaches people how to win and how to use their, power and how to use their energy. So I just think that's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Patty Conklin, she taught me how to heal with color.
Wow.
And so I do that. And so there's been so many people, I've had a wonderful doctor on who talked about animals and cats and how, Oscar the cat would go into people's room right before they were going to die because he knew. I mean, just some crazy, crazy stuff we've had on the show. But
so what's your background though? Like,
are you interviewing me now, Trey?
I'm sorry. It's just a habit. I'm sorry. It's a habit.
Trey, what's my background? I grew up in the Church of Christ, and my father was taught Sunday school, and the whole bit. But then as I got older, like you, I started to look at other things. I started to look at other religions, and I started to kind of think out of the box. And and then that's when I was a real estate broker, single mom, 2 kids, and needed to learn how to draw things to myself, and learned about affirmations and learned about energy. And that's why I wrote my book, Wake Up, The Universe is Speaking to You.
I got to read that.
Yes, you do. Because
What,
I teach about energy and how you draw things to yourself. And so it's all about the energy.
So
right?
you do believe that you can draw things into your life. Like, I mean, we've
Absolutely.
already created our reality. Like we're here,
Yes.
we've created it.
Yes.
Can you change your reality?
Of course you can. Absolutely.
And that's what I'm reading about right now with Dr. Joe Dispenza is, if you break it down to a quantum level, you look at our bodies, you have organs. Organs are made of tissues. Tissues are made of molecules. Molecules are made of atoms. Atoms are made out of energy. And if you can
Hmm.
harness that energy, if you can kind of, get into that meditative state where you're nothing and no one, and you can kind of touch base with that quantum reality where it is nothing but energy, you can kind of connect with that and like bring things to you. It might take
Hmm.
a while, but if you continuously do it and put that emotion into it, then you can definitely recreate your reality.
Whatever you think about creates your reality. Okay. So the energy that goes out into the universe. So if you say to the universe every day, I am never going to be successful, the universe says, okay, she doesn't want to be successful. So we're going to make sure she's not. Or if you say, today I'm going to have a day of heaven on earth. The Marines, Saint Germain taught me that. So I get up in the morning and I say, I'm going to have a day of heaven on earth. And then that's the intention that I put out to the universe. And the universe only gives us what we ask. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yeah.
So,
Asking you shall receive.
correct. That's it. So you just have to ask. Sometimes, Trey, people are afraid to ask.
Yeah. Because they feel guilty, right?
Right. Isn't that weird? Now, how come?
Because they feel like they don't deserve it.
Right. It's so
They feel
weird.
like their self-worth is not, they're not worthy enough for it. They feel like,
Right.
who am I to have this
Right.
reward or this money or this love? Who am I? I'm just this person. But
Right.
in reality, you're so much better. Not, I want to say better. You're so much greater than what you actually think you are.
Right. We are little creators and we create our own universe. And that's the part that they've left out telling us. And as we grow and we become more enlightened, we start to realize that we do have all these abilities and we have all this power that we didn't realize we had before. And once you realize you have it and you have the power to create your own life, then it's pretty interesting. You can change things for yourself.
I'm just learning that. Like I like before, I was kind of like, I don't know if that works or not. But
It
the more that
does.
I read it, the more that I'm trying to do
You're
it.
so funny, Trey. Hey, I'm so glad you came on the show today. Hey, we're going to hit commercial break here again. But you guys, I'm here with Trey Downes. You got to check out his podcast. It's called Your Superior Self. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Trey, what do you want to talk about on the last segment?
Pick something. Russian roulette. I can talk whenever you want.
Oh, come on. You got a subject you want to talk about? Anything you want to talk about? You want to talk about what's going on right now in the world? What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about. Let me look behind me. I can talk about anything. Let's talk about past life regressions.
Oh, God. All right. Sounds good. Hold on a second. All right. Here we go. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. I'm here with Trey Downes today. We're going to talk about past life regressions. I asked Trey what he wanted to talk about, and he says, that's it. Have you had a past life regression, Trey?
I have not. I want to. I've talked to many people that have conducted them. I actually picked up some pretty cool hypnosis books from a pretty cool bookstore in Delaware where I'm from. It's like 1970s, like, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
I don't know if the material is out of date or not. I haven't taken a hypnosis class or not, but I'm very interested in it. Like people that I've had on the show who that are actually qualified to facilitate one of those past life regressions have just fascinated me with the process. Have you had one before?
Well, I've had different people tell me, it's funny. I had Sylvia Brown years ago. I did a reading with her maybe 20 years ago, and she told me different things that I had been in my past lives. So that was interesting. I haven't really, gone through a whole regression, no. But that was the closest I ever had. She told me different things, like I had lived in England and I was married to a barrister and different things like that. But I don't know. I've had different people. I've had my Akashic records read. I had Bill Foss. Have you had Bill Foss on your show? He's pretty
No.
interesting. Yeah, and he does the Akashic records. So I've had my Akashic records, and those are your book of life. You know how in the Bible it talks about the book of life?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the book of life, it talks about your different past lives. And so that would be something you might want to look into too. It's really
Definitely.
interesting. Yeah. Um,
I've had visions before. Like
Talk to
I've
me.
gotten up at, so going a little bit off of what Robert Monroe does with, he'll have different sleep cycles and he'll try to come out of REM and so that
Mhm,
you're into that deep theta,
mhm.
almost gamma range. I've gotten up at like 4:30 in the morning and I've come downstairs and I've sat in my meditation chair and I've relaxed and try to, just whatever happens, happens. And I've had this vision of me riding a horse back in medieval times and I'm like knighted up, like in chains and armor, and a sword.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like riding by this lake and my wife's going to listen to this. She's like, what are you talking about? And so
Yeah, honey, what are you doing when you're getting out of bed at night?
yeah. So I go, I'm riding up to this castle and I go across the moat and I go in and like, I feel I'm in this body. Like I'm Trey in this body. I'm like, this is pretty crazy. Like this, I feel like I'm there. And
Right.
there's this little guy that comes up, this little boy. I don't know what he is, but he's getting the horse for me. And I step down and I'm like, where is the king? I want to talk to the king. And he's like, looks at me kind of crazy. And he's like, you are the king. I'm like, huh, that's pretty cool. And then I wake up and then it's like, crap. Like I can't enjoy the treasure. I can't enjoy the
You were
gifts of
just
being the
at the
king.
point, man.
I just came in the kingdom, man. And then I had
Oh,
right after
God.
that, I tried it again. And then I was a female at some point. I don't, maybe pre-medieval times, but I was like
Wow.
chained up, not chained up, but in a small space with a window and I couldn't escape. And then I woke up from that. And so like I've had some visions.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
visions when I run too. I
Okay.
think I might have been possibly a Native American at some point because
Right.
like I can definitely, when I'm running, I look down and I have visions of like, running in like their type of attire or something like
I'll
that.
stop you there. I think I was a Native American at one time too.
Really?
Hmm. Hmm.
Why is that? Why do you think?
Well,
Or have you had
I'm
visions?
from New Mexico and
Mhm.
I'm really into the land. And yeah, I've had different people who've met me and said, don't you remember me from, I had a guy that came and said, don't you, he was like a medicine guy. And he's like, don't you remember me? You were a medicine woman a long time ago. And I was like, no, but I'm really into, yeah, I'm really into the land and I really like New Mexico. And I just love that. So I just feel it. I can't
Mhm.
tell you other than I can just feel it. You know what I mean? And I'm a
Yeah.
warrior. So when you're a warrior, that's kind of like inbred in you. You know what I mean? You
So
don't
you're
just
a
get that.
warrior. Like explain
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'm a Scot, I'm from Scotland. I'm Scottish.
Okay.
So yeah, McConaughey's my maiden name. I'm a Scot. And so when I went to Scotland, same thing. When I
Mhm.
walked on the battlefields like a Culloden, I felt like I had been there before. So that's been my experiences. I go places and I feel like I've been there before, to be honest.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, the
Yeah.
more that I raise my consciousness, I become more aware to things that I kind of ignored, before.
Right.
And I was kind of like, oh man, you're nuts, dude. What are you thinking about? Like now I'm kind of open to everything and allowing more energy to flow to
Right.
me,
Right.
allowing cool ideas. Like even if it's like let's just say this publicly, even if it's not true, it is pretty darn cool to think about, all of this experiences that I'm having, these visions, like, of being a king possibly, or whatever, a Native American. Like it's pretty cool and I love it. And, I think it's a lot better than being, tied down to some, belief system that society says I have to believe in.
No, and we've all had lives before. And if you believe in what we're talking about and I believe in reincarnation, I know that we come here to learn and we learn what we're supposed to, and then we move on and go to a different dimension and come back if we haven't learned what we needed to. I don't know how many times we have to come back, I guess, till we get it
Hmm.
right, till we
Hmm.
raise
I
our
want to know what
consciousness.
happens when we finally hit that point of we've learned what we've come here to learn. You know what I mean? Like, what do we do when we go back to the self that has all the past lives? What is it? Where do we transcend from there?
I think we
Because
all connect back together with God.
so you believe that inside of us, that life source, that consciousness, that is,
It's
because
God.
is God. So
Hmm.
essentially, we are God. We are
We
the
are.
Christ,
We
right?
are.
Like, and I believe that the second coming of Jesus, which a lot of people talk about, and a lot of people are familiar with that idea. I think that the resurrection, or not the resurrection, but the second coming of Christ is the awareness of people that knowing that we are that Christ, that we are that God
Right.
source inside of us. So I think you're seeing a lot of that come up now, and I think that
Yep.
we talked about before you're reading a lot of the headlines from this weekend or the past week, and you're seeing all this chaos. But I
I
think
know.
in order for the light to come up, you have to shine it on all the bad stuff and the darkness, and for that light to come through and transcend us all.
Trey, here's what I think. I think that we all have a choice, and it's getting time to where we got to make a choice. You either go to the light or you go to the dark. Because when Jesus comes, you'll have already had made that decision. Either he's your Lord and Savior and you believe in Jesus Christ and you know that you're going to have life after this, or you don't.
Mhm.
And if you're not enlightened and you don't believe, I you know that's my opinion now. That's what I think. I think that you have to believe in a higher
So do you
power.
believe that that Jesus will come in form
I do.
to,
I
you
do.
do think that he'll
I
come?
do. I do.
What do you think he'll, instead of saving people, do you think he'll be here to show us what we truly are? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think we're going to have an opportunity. This is what I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, this is
Okay.
my I'm a psychic. I'm an intuitive, and my gut feeling tells me that.
Why didn't you tell
Well,
me this before? Like before we started? Like I didn't know you were a psychic. Like, I got too many
Trey, you
questions
should
for
have
you now.
checked me out before the show.
I did. I didn't know this. I got, like, how much time do I have left?
4 minutes and 28
4
seconds.
minutes.
Um,
Crap.
you're so funny. You'll have to have me on your show.
Yes, definitely. I'm sending you the link right
You're
now.
sending me the link. Okay. No, honestly, I really believe that we have an opportunity. Let me just say this. I think that we have an opportunity right now. You could take the high road or you can take the low road. It's totally up to us. We're all individuals, it's up to us. I think we're going to have an opportunity to get our act together, but we're only going to have one chance. And then after that, it's going to be, sink or swim pretty much.
So do you believe when Jesus comes? And I'm just curious.
No,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
saying
Talk to
anything's
me.
right or wrong. So
No,
like if
me
you
either.
believe when Jesus comes, right, do we have to live by those set of rules that are in the Bible, or can we still be curious and question? You know what I mean? Like
You have
I
to follow
feel,
the 10 Commandments, Trey.
yeah, I try to
It's
follow
all
them.
about the 10 Commandments. It's all about thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife. Come on. It's about the 10 Commandments. It's not that hard.
Mhm.
What have you read the 10 Commandments lately? That's all
Yes,
he
like a
asks of
long time
us.
ago. A
Okay,
long
well, I
time.
suggest you pull them out again.
I think I'm pretty good on all of them, except
Okay,
for
all
the "Do
right,
not
all
take
right.
the Lord's name in vain." I've done that a
Right.
couple of times in my life.
Me too. We all
Um,
have. We're not
but
perfect.
that so I feel like the second coming of Christ is to show us that we are that we have that power inside of us, and that we need to be aware of that. And then once we are aware of that, then
Mhm.
we'll be able to vibrationally rise up to that level, whatever that is, and then really truly be combined or together,
Well,
and be the source of oneness.
or just be the wonderful beings that we're supposed to be.
Yeah, I
You
know. I
know,
wish it was that easy. It's the ego. I'm telling you, the ego is
it
like
is the
killing us
ego.
all. It
It
is
took
the
me a
ego.
long time. I used to be there too. Just so you
The
know,
ego says you should hate that guy because he's better than you. But then who says that guy's better than you? Like
he's not
it's your
right.
ego. It's your
Right.
ego saying that. Like he's not. Love that person, regardless of how annoying he is. Like it doesn't matter. Like love him full out.
Right. And that's where you have to get to, because we've become so materialistic. You see,
Mm.
we've gone the other way. Society, instead of going the spiritual, religious inside, my power is inside, everybody's gone for my power is outside of me, on what I have and how much I have and how much I can accumulate. But see, that's not the answer. The answer is the opposite. It's the opposite.
Mm.
The treasure is within, not on the outside. That's where the
That's well
treasure
said.
lies.
And I'm trying to find that
Yes.
treasure every day. Go inside through
Yep.
meditation, through
Yep.
running, through just
Yep.
connecting with that source that is higher than myself, and love people that are hard to love.
Boy, you said that well. Trey, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on my show
Thank you
today.
so much, Nancy, for having me. Like this has been amazing, and I can't wait to have you on my show and just
Oh, God bless
grill
you.
your psychic abilities.
Yeah, there you go. I'll do some calls for you. Trey, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you if they have questions for you, how they
Sure. So
find you.
You can go to my website, yoursuperiorself.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at tdowns80, on Twitter at downstrey. I'm also on Facebook at Trey Downes. Now, some people might spell it wrong, but it's Downes. There's an E in there. And hit me up, follow me, leave me a message, let me know what you guys are up to, where you're at in your journey. And I love just touching base with my audience, and I would love to hear from your audience as well.
Okay. Hey, Trey, thanks for being our guest today here on High Road to Humanity. Hey, you guys, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. Have a terrific week, and I will see you next week.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week, and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.